Hey, what's up guys? This is DJ Freak coming to you with a video for Skyforge PvP guide. First topic of this video will be how to fix your stats and what stats you need for each class role. Now, the trick to modify or fix your stats is by either pressing triangle on a piece of jewelry or a gem of power, and it'll bring you to the modification screen, or if you go to bag and go to item upgrades, you can do it from there too. And how to modify your stats is by clicking on the piece of gear that you want to change, click on modification, and then what goes in this slot are sparks. This is a spark of morale, which you want to get to max on all the pieces of gear you have, but there's other sparks that you can get, which are Spark of Simplicity, Spark of Memory, and Spark of Frugality. And there's a couple of others, but you can't get those unless you have the Treasure Hunter companion ability. Now, we'll start with the melee damage category. The three main stats that you need for a melee DPS is critical chance and about 7.2% armor fracture, main damage bonus as high as you can get it, which without a permanent legendary weapon that has 12% main damage bonus on it, the highest amount of main damage bonus you can get from your jewelry and gems of power is 76% main damage bonus. And before you get the extra 30% critical damage bonus from the Temple of Deeds Hall of War, the highest critical damage bonus you can get without sacrificing your general defense on your jewelry is around 50%, which 51% is the cutoff for critical damage bonus inside arenas anyway. So it doesn't matter how much higher your critical damage bonus is once it gets past 51%. But to make it higher will benefit you in PvE as well. The next key stat that you want to worry about is your general defense. Now that's it for key stats, but secondary stats are also important. For your jewelry, for the secondary stats, you're going to want melee defense and range defense on all of them. And you can either choose between damage when combat starts or damage to stun targets. Those are the top two choices for the third secondary stat on jewelry. Now the secondary stats on gems of power, all you need is defense when wounded and protection against control. The third option can be random, as you can see. And the best legendary artifacts that you can get for any class are as follows. as soon as all the trophies loads. Anyway, alright, so the best artifacts for PvP and even PvE are the Viper wristlet, which allows you to gain a shield and 30% of your health over 5 seconds when your health drops to 15%. Now if you're going to play Revenant or a tank class or even a support class that'll work on, you're going to want to go with a Viper wristlet to make yourself a little bit more tankier. Now if you want to go with a glass cannon build or high damage build, you're going to go with the Cutthroat's Ring for the extra critical chance. But if you don't want survivability or damage, you can go with like a tactical option, which would be the Treewang's Idol. The Treewang's Idol is probably a good one for people that are just joining Skyforge and are still noobs a bit. The Treewang's Idol will help you kind of keep up with some of the higher level people. But the rest of the artifacts that you can get from the Hall of Trophies are pretty crap, other than the ones that I mentioned. Now, one of the best legendary artifacts that you can get is the Glyph of Despair. I still haven't got it. Apparently you get it from a certain event or something, so you won't see a lot of people having them except for people that are like rank 300 plus who have been playing this game for months, maybe years, so you don't gotta worry about it. Now for the ranged DPS stat priority, it's pretty much the same as melee damage, but like I said, critical chance, main damage bonus, critical damage bonus, and instead of armor fracture, well, if you're gonna play Firestarter, definitely go with armor fracture, but Cryomancer and some of the other range classes, you can either go with 7.2% armor fracture or get your companion damage bonus higher, which either route is good, because there is such a thing called a companion damage build, which people either go with the ability, well, the symbol. Okay, as soon as it stops lagging on me, you either want to go with the symbol piercing formation or berserker mode. Now if you're looking to like be a support class and support your teammates' damage, support mode would be a good choice. So if you're playing Soundweaver, Lightbinder or Alchemist, support mode would be a good choice. But if you want to go with like more of a tanky build, defense mode would be a better option. Now for symbols, while I'm here, the main ones for PvP that you want to get is emergency maneuver dodge, protective shell, and you want to either use pain shock for most classes and hone technique for classes that are good with it, because like not all classes benefit from hone technique. It's usually either Revenant, Firestarter, Cryomancer, there's a couple of them. more classes that Hone Technique is good with. But besides that, Black Mark or Stolen Energy for the last one is good, and you want to make sure that you get Verdict from the Hull of Willpower and have your Willpower and Divine Healing in your bar. Now back to stats. For Cryomancer, you see that Armor Fracture isn't starred, but when you change to Firestarter, you'll see Armor Fracture is a recommended stat, because Firestarter is a high damage but slow attacks kind of class, so Armor Fracture comes in handy for when you're throwing your 3 fireballs in a row. Usually you'll notice that your first 2 fireballs won't be as strong as your third, as long as all 3 of them are hitting. And sometimes you get lucky with a crit chance on the third one, and you can do some major damage. Now for the tank class, which their stat priority is a lot different than the rest of the classes, where main damage bonus, critical damage bonus, and companion damage bonus don't really apply to Grovewalker. When you're in PvP, your total damage bonus goes from whatever it is to 70% as default, but with having either the Cutthroat's Ring or Treewang's Idol are your 2 best choices for Grovewalker, because you either can go for like a higher damage build with the Cutthroat's Ring, which will allow you to have more crits going into your Metamorph form. So Armor Fracture and all them don't really apply to this class. What does apply the most is General Defense and Endurance and Block. Now if you can get a permanent legendary weapon, most tank permanent legendary weapons have 40% endurance and 40% block, which you'll be good with, and sometimes you can get up to 80% block. But general defense and endurance and block are the 3 main stats for tanks. It'll allow you to be super tanky and be able to take more damage than any other class, especially if you're playing Paladin with the Laminate Sorrow, Sword and Shield, or, well, for Grovewalker, I'm not really sure which legendary weapon for the Grovewalker is the best, because I don't really touch Grovewalker that much. I use it in PvP every once in a while, usually only when I'm going up against other Grovewalkers, or if I'm going up against like a Slayer with the Smoke Grenade legendary weapon and I want to be able to heal up in my Metamorph form and be as survivable as possible. And for secondary stats for pretty much any class, it's still the the same ones: protection against control and defense when wounded for gems of power secondary stats, and melee defense, range defense, and either damage when combat starts or damage to stun targets. Now, for support classes and like Lightbinder, Alchemist, and Soundweaver, especially Soundweaver, your stat priority is going to be Companion's cooldown, Companion damage bonus, and Barrier and General defense. You definitely want to try to get Barrier on pretty much every piece that you can, because for the bracelet you can get Barrier 3.6%. You can get it on your brooch, and you can get it on, I believe, your amulet and ring as well. Yes, you can get it for your amulet and ring too. So you'll probably go with general defense, barrier, and companion damage bonus for your 3 key stats for all of your jewelry, and then the same secondary stats as I told you before. Now for your gems of power for a support class, you'll go with companion damage bonus, general defense, and companion's cooldown. Or if you've got the Lyrium 9 ability, going with well, yeah, companion's cooldown, general defense, and companion damage bonus will be your 3 main stats for your gems of power as a support class, and then the same secondary stats. Now that I've covered all of the different class roles, and for the ranged stats that I showed you before on the Cryomancer and Firestarter are the same for Witch and Kinetic, but the Necromancer is more of a melee class, so you'll be going with Armor Fracture, main damage bonus, critical damage bonus, crit chance, and it'll be the same for Slayer and Berserker. Now for Outlaw, Archer, and Gunner, you're gonna want to go with high general defense with Gunner, because you're gonna want to be a bit more tanky as Gunner, and you're gonna want to have high damage, crit chance, and critical damage bonus on it as well, and it'll make you like a tanky long range attacker, because most people, especially in 5s and 10s, won't pay attention to a Gunner, because you can sit all the way in the back of the fight and just peg people off. Now with Archer, the Archer class is based around its the amount of stuns that it's able to do, so definitely having damage to stun targets on all 4 of your gems of power is a good idea. And having your main damage bonus and crit chance and critical damage bonus will be your 3 main stats. If you want to go with a glass cannon build, I suggest putting critical chance on your ring and amulet and all 4 of your gems of power, and basically just keep general. The only thing that you want to put general defense on is your jewelry, and get it from 2 legendary Adept relics. Now, unless you want to go with like a super tanky build where you want like 50% or more general defense, which would be the optimal amount if you're gonna main Grove Walker or Paladin or Knight, you have to get a legendary weapon for your tank class that gives you 7.2% general defense, which most of the time it will, because the stat priority for the tank class is pretty limited. Companion's cooldown would be okay to have. Damage from symbols, that's total crap. Unless you are doing enough damage to where you're killing the first enemy on a 3v3 team within the first minute, like half a minute in the game, then damage to symbols would actually be relevant. God, I can't talk today. But other than that, damage from symbols doesn't really affect you that much when you're not able to get like the first kill quickly and be able to use that symbol, like a symbol of pain would be a good choice if you're gonna do high damage from symbols, but nobody does because it's a stupid idea. So most of the time you'll either get general defense with 7.2%, or it'll give you protection against minions or protection against elite for 7.2%. But hopefully you guys can get a tank legendary weapon that has 7.2% general defense instead of the other choices. And when you have that, and along with having general defense on all of your jewelry and gems of power, now we'll get into legendary Adept relics, which as a tank class you're going to want to have a general defense legendary Adept relic for all of your adepts, and it'll give you an extra 1.5% general defense along with the might and adept stats. But if you're wanting to go with more of a hybrid build, you're gonna want to go with two general defense legendary adept relics, 2 critical damage bonus relics, and the last 4 should be main damage bonus. And that's for all classes. Except for if you want to go with a tank or support class, then you might want to switch out your general defense relics for some companion damage bonus or critical damage bonus, because I believe the max main damage bonus you can get to is 100%. You might be able to get more than 100%, but I don't think so, because you can only have 12% main damage bonus on all of your gems of power, and I believe it's like 7% main damage bonus on all of your jewelry. Yep. And so if you have 7% on all of your jewelry and 12% on all of your gems, it puts you at about 76% main damage bonus. But when you add a weapon that has 12% main damage bonus on it, it'll give you an extra boost, and you'll be at 88% main damage bonus. So, along with 4 main damage bonus relics, which give 3% main damage bonus for each, that'll put you at about 100% main damage bonus, because 88 plus 3 is 91, and then 91 plus 3 is 94, 94 plus 3 is 98, and then another 3% for the last 3% will put you above 100% at 101%, but it caps out at 100%. So that's basically your goal for any damage class. Well, basically for any class really, because even though main damage bonus and critical damage bonus and crit chance aren't key stats for tanks and support classes, doesn't mean the stat isn't used by that class. It's just not as affected for the class as other classes. Like it won't make you do as much damage as it would if you're playing a damage class. It's not as important, you know? It's kind of like trying to put barrier on as a revenant. It'll give you barriers, but they'll be weaker than they would if you had it on a Soundweaver or something. And I believe barrier might be somewhat helpful for outlaws too, especially if they're a glass cannon build and basically only have like 6% general defense, because they've got critical chance, main damage bonus, and critical damage bonus for their ring and amulet, and armor fracture, critical damage bonus, and main damage bonus for their brooch and bracelet, and then just crit chance, critical damage bonus, and main damage bonus for all their gems of power. So basically you'll only have like 6% general defense, which I believe that's like your base amount, I think. Either that or it's from having 4 general defense Adept relics. So I believe I've covered pretty much every class, except for maybe I think Monk, because I think Monk might have a different stat priority than the rest. Like, you definitely want about about 20% crit chance, well, to be technical, 19.4% crit chance or higher as a monk. You won't need any armor fracture, but you want the maximum amount of main damage bonus that you can get, and about 70% critical damage bonus or more. And if you want to go with a companion damage build as monk, you'll probably want 50% companion damage bonus or higher, and then you don't gotta worry about damage to elite for PvP. You can put it on if you're gonna do PvE, but I don't suggest using the monk class for PvE, even with the best stats you can get for monk. The monk class in PvE is still pretty doo-doo, even your divine form. The damage you do in divine form as monk is even worse than like freaking Lightbinder. It's almost as bad as Cryomancer too. So yeah, I do believe that's all the classes. Oh, one more thing. With the witch class, the stat priority is basically the same for the Cryomancer. The same for the Cryomancer, but one thing, you're gonna want to go with the legendary gem of power, Emerald Plague Heart, instead of having 4 regular gems of power, which by replacing a regular emerald with the Emerald Plague Heart, you're losing out on the extra 22 honor, which would probably increase your health by 15% and your damage by like probably 2% increase to your damage. So you'll be sacrificing that for the Emerald Plague Heart, but it's definitely worth it for the witch class, because pretty much all of the witch's damage is damage over time. In World of Warcraft, we call them dots, D-O-T. And what Emerald Plague Heart does is it makes it to where your damage over time is more effective. It does more damage, because you've also got the Emerald Plague Heart putting weakness on your enemy, and it'll tick down their health little by little. So that's why the Emerald Plague Heart is so good for the witch. And now if you really are like a die-hard witch / warlock fan, and like witch is the class that you want to main in PvE, you're gonna wanna get the aspect. I can't remember the name, I'll show you here in a second. There's an aspect in the Halls of Elder Gods that allows you to wear 2 legendary gems of power. Let me just find it real quick. I think it might be Mercy. Is it Mercy? Oh wait, I think it's on this side. Where is it? I know it's a thing, unless they took it out for some reason. It might be Aspect of Vengeance. Crap. Well, I'm not sure which aspect it is, but I'm like 75% sure that one of the abilities in one of these aspects allows you to have 2 legendary gems of power on at the same time, except for instead of only being able to wear 1, you'll have 2. So if you can find which aspect that is, because I can't find it right now. I'm a tad bit stoned and high on Adderall, so my mind's a little fuzzy. But anyways, if you can find the aspect that I'm talking about, for which when you get that ability, you'll go with Emerald Plague Heart and also Sapphire Iana's Blessing, which Sapphire Iana's Blessing, what that does is increases your health in PvP by a good like 20 to 30k. So if you have max amount of honor along with the Sapphire Iana's Blessing as Witch, Firestarter, Cryomancer, Kinetic, and not Necromancer, but all the rest of the ranged DPS classes, you'll have a good amount of health. I believe it's about 190k health or more, no higher than 210k though. Like the highest amount of health I've ever seen on a ranged DPS was about like 205k. And they had the Sapphire Iana's Blessing and max honor. So for Cryomancer, Firestarter, and any of the other ranged DPS, you're at least gonna want to go with Sapphire Iana's Blessing. And you won't have to have the Emerald Plague Heart. You can go with a regular gem, or you can go with Satria's Gift Legendary Ruby, which it has an okay ability, but it's not that great for PvP, because all it does is gives you random symbols besides the one that you already have selected in your abilities. So you'll get if you have Emblems of Pain turned on, you'll get an Emblem of Pain, and you'll also get a Emblem of Destruction and either an Emblem of Speed or Mercy or Protection. You'll get 2 extra besides the one that you have selected. So I mean, it's a decent ability for PvE, but it's kind of in PvP, because the only way it's useful is for when you kill other enemies fast and go on to the rest of the group. But I do believe that is all the information I can give you. I guess the only thing any wisdom that I can give you left is until you get to rank 260 and unlock nightmare missions, the best way to credit farm would be to basically just spam your squad directives and basically do any directives that have like a large amount of credits, and like once you've exhausted through all of your squad and group directives and any directives with a large amount of credits. The only option left is either finding a group of 4 other people and spamming 5-man group missions like these ones, and you can do like all of them in order, or you can do specific ones, which like the easiest ones to do are like Hespelon Temple, Targo Islands is easy, Lunar Swamps is easy, Forius Test Area is pretty easy. Only downside is it's kinda long, especially if you aren't using your divine form, or at least one person isn't using divine form. And I guess the only other one that's short and easy would probably be Downholt Glacier, maybe Kuwait Lion Station, Fort Derelict takes quite a while. So does Mare. Tarlin's okay, that one doesn't take too long. You'll get about like 50,000 credits. But if you want one that's somewhat long, and and one person out of the group will have to use divine form each time you do it, is Forius Test Area. So basically, out of the 5 people you have in your group, have at least one person going into divine form each time you do it. So like you designate the first person to use their divine form in Forius Test Area, and they'll basically use their divine form until they run out of faith, and then it'll move on to the next person, and so on and so on. Now if you want to go with something that's easy and short and gives you a decent amount of money, you either do Hespelon Temple on repeat, which will also allow you to get weapons for different classes that you don't have weapons on, and it'll give you about like, I think it's like 30 or 40,000 credits. But another quick and easy one is Targo Islands, which will give you about like 40,000 credits, and I believe it's like 2 minutes or less shorter than Hespelon Temple, because all you have to do in Targo Islands is go around and kill a couple of trash mobs and then kill the boss. So if you have divine form, or if a better idea is going to abilities and going down to Hyperion, and if you want to be able to do enough damage but not have to use your divine form all the time, you want to lease out the perfect cover support module, and along with let me get back there. There's 2 other Hyperion things that you want to get besides perfect cover. Perfect cover support module basically makes it to where when you're on the brink of death, it shrouds you in a almost impenetrable shield and heals you back up to about 70% health. And it has a cooldown, but if you add Perfect Cover 2.0 auxiliary support module along with it, which leasing both of those at the same time for the same amount of days is pretty expensive. As you can see, regular Perfect Cover is already 70 Victor medals, but the bonus for Perfect Cover is 200 Victor medals, so it's not really worth buying. But if you've got a shit ton of Victor medals and you don't have anything else to buy with them, you can get this for a couple of days if you want. But besides Perfect Cover, another good one is Preacher Storage Module, which will increase the amount of faith received from your Adept's journey by 25%. And if you don't have the Hall of Deeds ability that increases your faith gained by 50% and your divine form duration, you definitely want to get the Preacher Storage Module until then. And even after you get it, getting it for more faith is worth it, because once you get the divine form duration increase from the Hall of Deeds, the increase from the Preacher Storage Module becomes null and void, so you don't get like an extra 10 minutes or anything like that. Oh shit. And Perfect Cover, Preacher Storage Module, and the main one that I wanted to talk about is the Protector Combat Module, which allows you to summon a Hyperion Protector, which, depending on what you're doing, either 3-man squad missions or 5-man groups or 10-mans, like the operations or distortions, all of them depend on, like, the summon protector's damage all depends on what you're doing. If you're doing squads, it's only gonna do like a couple of million damage per hit when it attacks, but for 5-man groups it'll do like up to 20 mil around that area per hit, especially for its slam attack. But for its regular attack, the base damage is usually like 8,000 or 9,000 damage. And so the protector in 10-mans though will do like 10k for or more for regular attacks, and freaking up to 100 million damage for its slam attack. So it'll do quite a bit more damage in 10-mans. So if you don't feel like spending the large amount of faith it requires to use divine form in operations and other 10-mans, having a Hyperion Protector along with you is a good idea. And it'll basically allow you, along with your own damage, it'll basically allow you to do about like 75% of the amount of damage you'd be able to do in divine form. And I mean, if you want to use divine form and the Hyperion Protector, you'll definitely burn right through regular squad missions and 5-man group missions like it's nothing. if your stats are good and you've got a decent rank, like 240 plus rank, you can pretty much solo any squad mission and solo any 5-man mission, except for maybe like Heart of the City or Toxic Wasteland, since those are the 2 hardest 5-man group missions. But other than that, you can pretty much solo the squad and group missions. Now, 10-man missions, like the operations, if you use your divine form along with the Hyperion Protector, you can probably 5-man an operation if everybody's using divine form. So I'm running out of information to talk about, so I do believe this is overly due, but if you liked the video and thought the information was useful and helpful to you, like the video and subscribe to my channel for more videos and in-depth descriptions and information on all the classes. And oh yeah, tactics. I'll pause the outro for a quick tactics and strategy talk. Now for 3v3s, the basic strategy, which is a good solid strategy, as long as you have good stats and decent teammates. Basically all you have to do is when you're in 3v3s and there's either a caster or a support class, or if it's, in some cases, if it's a Grove Walker and then 2 damage classes, you either go for the range damage class, support class, or Grove Walker first before the other enemies, because with ranged support and Grove Walker, those classes are the most annoying and helpful to a group, because with a ranged DPS on your team, a ranged DPS is basically supposed to kind of like sit back in the flank and basically just do his spell rotation against all the enemies, while the melee and tanks go and focus one person. But going up against that kind of setup where there's a ranged class and then 2 other melee or whatever class, you're going to want to go after the ranged DPS, so that way you can get him out of the way, so you're not getting background damage from him along with his 2 other partners. So once you get the ranged DPS support / Grove Walker out of the way, and you've just got two others left, then you'll go for the squishiest one out of the 2, and you'll be able to notice that from putting a decent hit on him. So if you're playing Revenant you'll basically use your punishment ability on them, and if it does around like 30k damage or more to them without critting, then that usually means that they're pretty squishy and you can take them out pretty easily. But if you're only doing like 15k damage with your punishment ability to somebody, that usually means they have a high amount of general defense and they're probably really high ranked and high on the PvP ranking. So basically, if you run into those kind of people, I'm not gonna say that they're all completely overpowered, because some of these people are basically my level, or maybe a little bit better, or maybe a little bit worse. Is like Zizzy and Genova 420, Genio Sun, Lady Ikeo, Over My Dead Body, me, the Kid's Son, Axis, Berkman. There's a whole bunch of people that can freaking take a lot of damage. But if you run into those kind of people, you basically just gotta, like, if there is no range support or Grove Walker on the team, you basically want to focus one of these overpowered people. All three of your teammates all focus on that person, get him down first, and then the other two that are with him should be easy enough, as long as you stick to that pattern by all three of your teammates attacking one target in unison and bringing them down fast, and then moving on to the next target and then the next target until you've killed them all. Now, some people might disagree on my strategies, saying, oh, that's cheating, that you're ganging up on me, yada yada. But this is 3v3s. It's called 3v3s for a reason. You fight as a team. It's not like 1v1s, or else it'd be called 1v1s. So basically that's it for 3v3's strategy. Now for 5s, the easiest and most effective strategy for 5s is as a close range class, so like melee tanks and like Soundweaver, which is like a close range ish support class. You want to basically go up to the bridge area, which is like the middle ground for the 5v5s map, where both teams collide and start fighting. Basically in that area, as a close range, you basically want to hide behind a pillar or wall around there to avoid getting seen and hit by the tower lasers. You basically hide behind that and either wait for when enemy players come by that wall or whatever you're hiding behind. Once they come past, start attacking them and kill them. But when you see that the little bots are starting to come, you want to use like your ultimate or like a really strong attack to basically bring those little bots down and that'll allow you to get a golem faster. And then once you get a golem, which that's the main objective for 5s, is getting a golem and doing damage to the towers. So once you kill enough small bots to summon a golem, while the golem's out, you basically want to stay in its little circle aura, which will heal you a little bit until it reaches a tower and starts attacking it. And while it's doing that, the tower's laser will either be focused on the golem or one of your other teammates. So you'll be able to deal out either, you can choose to either do a bunch of damage to the tower along with the golem, or you can attack the enemy players that are starting to get close to your golem. Now, if the enemy team is like all dead and spectating, definitely just go ahead and just do a shit ton of damage to the tower along with the golem. But if they're alive and starting to get too close to the golem, basically you want to take all of them out that are getting close, so that way your golem can stay alive longer and isn't interrupted from doing damage to the towers, and that'll make your golem last longer. Now for the royal manta that appears under the bridge of the map, to basically get the spark for God mode from the royal manta every time is by basically killing all of the enemy players that are up above, attacking your golem or doing whatever, killing your other teammates. Take those guys out while you're waiting for the royal manta's health to get down to about like 50% health to be safe. But if you're in a fight with an enemy and want to finish them before you go down, you can wait for as long as 25% of the royal manta's health. But before it gets any lower than 25%, you want to get down there, and if the royal manta isn't already finished off and the spark hasn't spawned yet, finish off the royal manta and then finish off the other enemies trying to get the spark after the royal manta's dead. And you want to try to have like either 2 to 3 people of your team down there when the royal manta drops his spark, so that way you can have an edge on the enemy team. Because since you killed most of them up top before you went down, there will probably only be like one or none down there to steal the spark from you, so you can just channel the spark and go into God form. And then once you get God form, there's one thing that you absolutely do not want to do, and if you do, you're completely stupid, is rush in to the enemy's side without thinking and trying to attack the towers to make the match shorter. Because if you try to do that, the lasers from the tower will just take you out easily, because you don't have as much health in divine form in 5s as you do in like regular group missions and stuff. You only have about like 300,000 or more. So you can't be recklessly charging in and trying to destroy the towers. You basically want to do the same thing that close quarters classes do, and basically hide behind a pillar or wall and take out any enemies that are getting too close to the your golem, or just take them out in general to keep them in the dead spectating screen for as long as you can, until your golem is able to reach the last two towers. And once your golem gets to the last two towers and it's taken out one of the last two, you can safely try to take out the last tower. Now for 10s, there's not really that many strategies that you can use for 10s that most people don't already know, or is basically like common knowledge. Is that like for the domination map, basically get 2 bases, keep them, and poof, you win. And if the enemy team is weak, sometimes you can get 3 bases. But if the enemy team is decent or really good, being able to just keep 2 bases is fine. Once you get 2 bases, basically try to spawn trap them if you can, and that works for all 3 of the 10v10s maps. The payload map is kind of difficult, because when you're escorting it, a lot of people don't realize that you have to be in the circle aura of the payload to get it to the checkpoints. And basically, when you're on the escorting side, you really want to stay in the vicinity of the payload and basically only kill enemies that are coming close to it, or if there's like a ranged DPS pecking away at your health in front of the payload, take them out. And for the capture the flag map, basically you want to try to spawn trap them by like covering both bridges, because there's a bridge right in front of spawn on the right and left side. So you basically want to put people on both of those sides, and it'll just basically block them off from even getting close to their own flag, so you can just keep on running flags to your base and the game ends pretty quickly. But if you can't contain them to their spawn, usually what you'll have to end up doing is pinning down most of them in the area of their flag, and then there's a little speed jump boost thing right next to their flag that goes over to an area, a dirt area that leads to a bridge towards your own flag. You'll want to have people sitting there too, because when you finally capture their flag, you're going to want to use that speed jump boost to get over to that area, to the bridge that gets to your base. So having people stationed on that area, along with people around the enemy's flag, you'll be able to skip over to that area and be safe, and then the people that are stationed there can take out any enemies that try to follow the flag holder, and then you'll be free to go to your base with the flag. And now that is officially all the information I wanted to cover in this video. So if you like this video and got the information that you needed, well, what you were looking for, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I will go in depth with every class guide and more information for PvP and PvE. So until next time, this is DJ Freak, and have a nice day, guys.